Welcome to the Greater Tampa Chamber of Commerce 10th Annual Women of Influence Luncheon, presented by PNC Bank. Please welcome to the stage your 2016 Women of Influence Chair, Pat Moser.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Greater Tampa Chamber of Commerce 10th Annual Women of Influence Luncheon. As we start today's program, please enjoy your salads, that's what they are called, and we'll start lunch momentarily. We also encourage you to tweet throughout today's event using hashtag WOI2016. What a turnout. We have an incredible sold-out crowd of 900 businessmen and women. By our records, that makes this the largest event for the Chamber. I'm sure that's a testament to the enthusiasm among the women of Tampa Bay's business community and all those that support them. But it's also the draw of today's guest speaker, who is a female entrepreneur making great strides in her field. Speaking of entrepreneurs, did you check out the Startup Scholars Marketplace out front before you took your seat? The Startup Scholars Program is a chamber initiative which aims to encourage innovation as a part of our community culture and increase instances of entrepreneurial success. If you haven't had a chance to visit them, please do so on your way out. Look around and you'll see the real movers and shakers of our community. The people in this room are those people making things happen in the workplace, at home, and throughout the community. I would like to take a moment to recognize all elected officials who have joined us here today. Please hold your applause to the end as we welcome Tampa Mayor Bob Buckhorn, County Commissioner Sandy Merman, and Councilwoman Lisa Monteleone. Thank you all for being with us today. The Women of Influence Luncheon was introduced by the Chamber in 2007 to provide an opportunity for professional women to gather for networking, learning, and collaboration. The success of the inaugural event led to the development of more women's programming, including the Women's Series Luncheons and Pearls of Wisdom events. Over the last 10 years, the Chamber's women's programming has welcomed nearly 13,000 attendees. Our annual luncheon has continued to grow as we have welcomed incredibly accomplished speakers from diverse backgrounds and industries. For our 10th annual luncheon, we are absolutely delighted to welcome Gaddis, the founder and CEO of T3, the largest woman-owned independent advertising agency in the country. Of course, none of these events would be possible without the hard work and support of the Women of Influence Committee, whose mission is to inspire and educate women through identification and response to business and community needs in collaboration with community partners. The 30 amazing women who comprise this committee have volunteered their time and resources, sought sponsors, discovered new speakers, and given back to the Tampa Bay community in countless ways. In particular, I would like to recognize the committee's Vice Chair, Debbie Sheridan. Debbie, thank you for your support and leadership. At this time, I'd like to ask all members of the 2016 Women of Influence Committee to please stand and be recognized. Their names are listed in the program. Thank you, ladies, for your hard work and dedication to our mission. At this time, I'd like to invite to the stage Bob Rohrlach, President and CEO of the Greater Tampa Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Pat. Good afternoon, everyone. Congratulations on setting a record for chamber attendance at this event. That just means, as you know, the way we recognize our sponsors is now a bigger job for all of us. Are you all ready again this year? Okay, we'll see how that goes. You know, to a certain extent, I kind of feel like Charlie Brown and you all are Lucy, and you're going to yank the football out because, you know, every year there's one sponsor name that we missed the clap. So we got to get it right this year. Okay, y'all with me to do this? Yes. Thank you. For those of you who haven't been here before, I am going to say the name of a sponsor. We give one clap. Name of a sponsor, one clap. If not, you're going to be here till dinner time. So we got to work together on this. Are y'all ready? All right. Please help me recognize our sponsors for today's event. Today's presenting sponsor, PNC Bank. Thank you to our platinum sponsors, Moffitt Cancer Center, the University of Tampa, USAA. Good job. I'll take it. All right. Let's see who can beat that. Our gold sponsors are AACSB International, Adams and Reese, Lufthansa Airlines, Northwestern Mutual, Quarles and Brady, Tampa Bay Lightning and Amalie Arena. Go Bolts, we'll take that. Tampa General Hospital, the University of Florida MBA program. Thank you to our silver sponsors, Baycare, Buchanan, Ingersoll, and Rooney, Construction Moisture Consulting, Cushman and Wakefield, Hancock Bank, Highwoods Properties, Hillsborough Community College, M.E. Wilson Company, Skanska USA Building, SunTrust, Tampa Steel and Erecting Company, the Home Association, USF Women in Leadership and Philanthropy, our media sponsor, Tampa Bay Times, and a special thanks to Carrie Wilds Photography, Hilton Tampa Downtown. Let's hear it for all those sponsors. One more. I messed up this year. Let's hear it for PSAV. Give them another one. They deserve it. All right, good. Thank you. Now, I'm going to introduce our presenting sponsor, and you've heard a lot of woos. I want to hear a long woo for the presenting sponsor, okay? At this time, I would like to invite to the stage Diane Jacob, Senior Vice President and Director, Client Community Relations for PNC Bank, our presenting sponsor. Good job.
Thank you, Bob. I've never heard so many woos. On behalf of Joe Menerchik and the entire PNC team, we are proud to be the presenting sponsor of this Women of Influence Luncheon, now for the third year. And once again, we're thrilled to see this room so jam-packed with so many great women. Why do we sponsor this, you might ask? Aside from the obvious reason that this is one of the largest collections of women in business in Tampa, you are an important segment of our business and becoming more important every day. The financial services industry has not always been kind to women, nor have we recognized the strength that women bring to our companies. But that's changing industry-wide. And I can assure you that changed within PNC a long time ago. Over the last decade, we have elevated women into our executive C-suite, and women hold key supervisory and managerial positions within the company. We recognize that by doing so, we're better able to attract talented men and women, create a more congenial workplace, and look and act like the company and the people we wish to attract. The truth is, women are good business. Now let me give you the numbers behind why you're important. Over the next 5 years, now listen to these statistics, these are pretty clear. Over the next 5 years, it is estimated that the global incomes of women will grow from $13 trillion to $18 trillion. And that's incrementally, that $5 trillion is nearly twice the growth in GDP expected from China and India combined. On the planning side, women control half of all U.S. wealth, and data suggests that women customers care more about men about their financial experience, as is evident considering that 70% of widows change their financial services provider within a year of their spouse's death. Now, maybe we shouldn't wait that long. Nearly 1/2 of first-time home buyers are women, and the majority of realtors are women, thereby influencing the financial dealings of buying a home. Women solely or jointly own 40% of privately held businesses. But there's more to accomplish. We all know that there are still inequities for women in the workplace relative to pay and promotion, and that we must all lean in and raise our hands for opportunities that we have earned and deserve. But remember this, behind every successful woman, there is a tribe of other successful women who have her back. Please call on any one of our more than 100 business women advocates in this region to assist you as you grow and your businesses grow. PNC would love to be part of your tribe, and we have your back. Thank you, and enjoy your lunch.
Thank you, Diane and PNC Bank, for your support of this event. 4 years ago, the committee voted to create an award recognizing a local woman of influence. This award is named in honor of its first recipient, Dottie Berger McKinnon. At this time, I'd like to welcome to the podium last year's recipient, Dr. Judy Genshaft, President of the University of South Florida, to present this year's award.
Well, good afternoon. I am so grateful to have been given the opportunity to present the 2016 Dottie Berger McKinnon Woman of Influence Award. The award was created in 2012 by the Chamber to recognize a woman whose leadership has made a positive impact in Hillsborough County. And it pays tribute to an individual who exemplifies outstanding professional values, demonstrates the ability to go above and beyond the normal expectation of a leader, and serves as an inspiration to the community. I am so honored to have received this award last year, and other past recipients who have received this award include Jane Castor, who is here, and if she would stand. Judy Lisi, who is not able to be with us, and Dottie Berger McKinnon. And thank you, Sandy. You can stand. Thank you, Sandy, for being with us today. Each year, we receive nominations featuring truly exceptional women in our community. The applications were judged by a panel of past recipients. Applications were judged on professional accomplishments, community involvement, vision, leadership, selflessness, character, and initiative. And let me tell you about this year's recipient. She is a fifth-generation Floridian and lifelong resident of Tampa. And she is a USF College of Business alum who received her law degree from Stetson University College of Law. She is highly involved in civic and charitable work. She's held the top leadership positions with many Florida-based organizations, including the Greater Tampa Chamber of Commerce, the Tampa Bay Partnership, and the National Association of Industrial and Office Properties. She was appointed by Governor Bush in 2014 to serve on the board of the Florida Council of 100, of which she currently is chair. In her professional career, she has received numerous recognitions from her peers. Her colleagues chose her as the first female to lead a major law firm in the state of Florida. She later led the merger of her firm with another legal powerhouse to create one of the nation's largest and best law firms. In 2009, she was named Tampa Bay's Business Professional Woman as their Woman of the Year. She was chair of the USF Board of Trustees, and her leadership was critical in the university's continued advancement up the ranks of great American research universities. Her leadership is so respected and valued by USF that in 2013, she was awarded an honorary Doctor of Medicine. Those individuals responsible for her nomination used words like selfless, tenacious, passionate, visionary to describe today's recipient and to describe her long and exemplary body of work for our community as unprecedented. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the stage the 2016 Dottie Berger McKinnon Woman of Influence, Rhea Law.
Judy? We're going to take a few photos.
Okay. You want to, okay.
Yeah, wait, just the two of you. Oh. Yep.
What? Are you sure?
Okay, wait a minute.
Oh. Well, now I understand why no one wanted me to go to Jacksonville today. I kept saying, I really need to go, and they said, no, you shouldn't do that. You know, this is such an incredible award. I knew Dottie Berger McKinnon. Well, I knew her when she was Dottie Berger and then when she was McKinnon, before she was even elected to public office. And as I think about her, I think about how she was so energetic and focused and committed. But the one word that comes to me is courageous. She was courageous on the Board of County Commissioners, and she was courageous to the end. So this is a huge honor. And Sandy, I thank you. You know, you don't do these things, you don't receive a recognition like this unless you have a lot of support from the people around you. And so I have to thank the Chamber first. The Chamber was the first place that I really took some leadership positions, and it taught me about being involved with the community. I think I chaired all the committees that they had at the time, including the Chamber, and it was just a fabulous experience. And the Chamber today takes strong, courageous positions, and I hope we all support them. So I want to thank the Chamber, and we should all just give them a round of applause. I want to thank my friend Judy Genshaft, who, as I'm thinking about this, innocently called me last night and said, "Hey, Rhea, are you going to that lunch tomorrow?" I mean, she didn't bother to mention this. You know, it might have just slipped her mind. So she's now going to be known as Sneaky Judy. And I want to thank my firm, Fowler White, now Buchanan Ingersoll, because, you know, again, your firm has to support your initiatives with the community, and they certainly have done that, and I am terribly thankful to them. And I thank my family because they're always there for me, and gosh, I'm just overwhelmed. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Judy, and congratulations, Rhea. We'll now break for a brief time while lunch is served, so please enjoy, and we'll resume in about 15 minutes. Thank you.
You take me down, spin me around. You got me running all the lights. Don't make a sound, talk to me now. Let me inside your mind. Don't know what you're thinking, sugar. Ooh, but I just got that feeling, sugar. Ooh, I can hear the sirens burning, red lights turning. I can't turn back now. So hold on tight.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage, Pat Mosier.
Hello. Okay. I know some of you are still being served, but in the interest of hearing as much as possible from our keynote speaker, we're going to resume our program. In just a moment, we'll hear from Gaddis, who'll share her thoughts on how she built her successful business from the ground up. Immediately following, Marianne Faring, of Mission Plus and co-chair of the Chamber's Innovation Leadership Committee will join us to facilitate the question and answer period. And now it's my honor to introduce our keynote speaker. For the past 27 years, Gaddis has helped leading national clients leverage creativity and new technology to transform both their businesses and brands. She is part of a lead generation of women executives and entrepreneurs who have been at the forefront in solving challenges from glass ceilings to leadership and work-life balance. As a result, she speaks across the globe on marketing, innovation, and entrepreneurship, and is very involved in mentoring women leaders and amplifying their success through the Committee of 200 and Women's Sphere. Gay is a regular contributor to Forbes, part of Fortune's Most Powerful Women Insider Network, and a frequent guest on Bloomberg Television. She has received numerous awards and honors, and her unique workplace culture has been recognized by the White House, the Today Show, the New York Times, and Fortune Small Business. Additionally, she and her husband Lee run the Double Heart Ranch, where they raise Texas Longhorns, and work to return their piece of the rugged and picturesque Texas Hill Country to its native state. Please welcome to the stage, Gaddis.
Okay, we're ready to go. With my Texas accent in full speed today. I've been in New York for about a month, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes, but I try to kind of tone it back a little bit, but I'm in the South again, so you're going to get the full deal. And thanks to all of you for coming out this wonderful day. What a great crowd. I am so impressed with all the people I've met here. You've got a great city and some great things ahead for you, and just some dynamic people who are very exciting. And I was invited to come here because I think in the past at this event you've had some actresses, some athletes, and people who have achieved in those areas. But they called me and said, we want someone to come talk to us today who built a business from the ground up. So this is my story. The talk today is do, then say. Is it up? There we go. There, okay. But it's all about doing, then saying, and I'll explain to you about that. I'm also going to tell you about a secret that I learned a long time ago from 4 guys who got their MBAs at Harvard together. I happened to be working from them in Atlanta, and they gave me the Myers-Briggs test and several other tests. And I found out for the first time in my life what I was really good at and what I was really not good at. And so the secret that I would share to anyone is you've got to know your strengths and weaknesses, and you surround yourself with people who do the things that you can't do well. And you glorify that and you honor that, because it's the only way I've been able to do this. Without some people who shored up my weaknesses, I'd be nowhere. So this was me here as a little Texas cowgirl. Pretty funny picture, right? And I didn't realize this until a few years ago. And someone said, why are you an entrepreneur? Why did you decide to be an entrepreneur? And it dawned on me for the first time that my whole family were entrepreneurs. My mother owned a kindergarten, that's her on the right, in a little town in Texas. My dad had a surveying company that he started, an engineering firm. And then I go way back to farmers and my grandparents who had a wholesale hosiery business, and all of them were entrepreneurs. And I call farmers big entrepreneurs, because you're running a farm, that's an entrepreneur. So I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, and it's kind of in my blood, and my kids are doing the same thing, so go figure. This is something that I love to talk about, because I had a wonderful mother-in-law. She passed away, but she had some interesting things, and she was quite a fascinating woman, and she was a working mom way back in the day. Right after I started my company, I happened to be visiting her ranch house in South Texas, and I spied this little box that was on one of her tables, and it said, "Everything is sweetened by risk." And I thought, wow, I'm eating risk for breakfast every day in this company. And I love this box. I mean, and she's, by the end of our visit, she said, "Gay, take it with you." And it's been on my desk ever since. And I can guarantee you that if I hadn't taken so many of the risks I have in my life and just grabbed that brass ring when it came around, because it only comes around sometimes once, that the sweetness in my life would never have been there. It's scary, but I did it. So let me tell you how I started this thing. I got mad. And actually, my staff always tones down my slides, but I got pissed off. I was really pissed off. So this guy, you know, we were in this horrible recession, into the 80s, and this guy decided he wasn't going to support my business plan that I had written and put blood, sweat, and tears into. And he walked down the hall one day and said, "You know what, Gay, I'm not going to support you." And I got so mad. I was furious. I was going to cry. I was just gnashing of teeth. So I ran back down the hall. I hadn't even thought about it. 30 minutes later, I ran down the hall and I quit. And I didn't even know what I was going to do. But I decided, I said, you know, if I can't do this here, I'm going to go do it someplace else. So here I started off 27 years ago. This was in 1989, terrible recession. Austin was hit very hard. The savings and loans failed, and the real estate wasn't worth the dirt it was built on. And so here we were struggling along. My first 3 clients were healthcare accounts because they were the only ones spending any money. And I did that. I cashed in my IRA. That's all the money I had. We were just broke at the time. I had 3 kids, and it was a terrible time to do anything. But I had $16,000 in my IRA, and I went and cashed it in, and I hired an attorney. I got incorporated, and off I went. All I had was that table there that I had taken from my former office that they let me have as my departing gift. And listen to this. My entire team always called that the Miami Vice table. Doesn't it look like something? Have the pink chairs and, you know, and the table, you know, it's hilarious. So that was my only piece of furniture. I had a typewriter. I went to Office Depot and bought a typewriter. It's all I had, not a computer, nothing. I didn't even have a fax machine. I had to borrow the engineers down the hall. And then we decided that we weren't going to really be an ad agency. We wanted to be a marketing think tank. So that's what T3 stands for, the think tank. Okay, so everyone has to have a vision, even if it's not politically correct. How many of you out there could name a couple of people who can really call bullshit on you? They look at you in the face and say, "You are wrong," or "You better be thinking about this way." Well, my husband happens to be one of these people. So we were out to dinner one night shortly after I had started my company, and he said, "Gay, what are you going to do to differentiate this little advertising agency in Austin, Texas? The last thing the world needs is another little ad agency." So I got very pompous, and I said, "We're going to be the art and science. We're going to measure things. We're going to win awards. We're going to do this." And I kept going on and on about my business plan, what I was going to do. Finally, he said, "Bullshit, bullshit. I'm not impressed." So after about 3 glasses of wine at this point, I slammed my hand on the table and I said, "Damn it, we're going to do kick-ass work for clients who want to kick ass." He said, "That's it." So, he wrote it down on the napkin. We still have the napkin. It's framed in the office. So that's all about doing than saying. So we have this mantra around T3 now about do, then say. You know, it's one thing to say you can do all this stuff, but you better back it up. So we're great prototypers. We're wicked prototypers. We do that every day to see what we can prove up. So like I said, we're a marketing think tank. We weren't another ad agency. We're a marketing think tank who would do unconventional things. If you brought a problem into an ad agency, you would get an ad out, right? Some kind of ad back in those days. But we wanted to do things that were different. So one time, we couldn't do enough ads to get a grocery store that was our client in those days employees. It was a time where Austin was really, flush with jobs, and we couldn't get these people to work at the grocery store. So we hired actors, and we sent them out on the streets of Austin, and on one Friday morning, and they handed out oranges and job applications to people on the streets. They got more applications than they could have believed. We've been running radio for 3 months, and we couldn't get anybody. So sometimes you have to do something that breaks the norm. This is another thing that we did. Very first job with UPS. UPS has been a client now for over 10 years. And they said, we have a problem. We're at these trade shows, and all these women are running around, and they are not signing up for UPS accounts. So we said, well, you know why? Because, it's horrible. You don't want to go stop at these booths. You're wearing high heels, on these trade show floor. So why don't we hand out pink brown slippers with pink logos of UPS? You wouldn't believe, it's like an act of God to be able to put pink on these slippers because UPS is gold color. So we had to go through that. But we did it, and it turned out to be one of the most successful things. Years later, again, they're one of my biggest clients now. So the lesson about this is, sometimes you have to be willing to go into the giant and do a couple good things. And you earn their trust. You get results. You do things. And it's not necessarily that I'm going to go and just bang in the front door of a UPS. I'll go in any way I can, and as we say at the ranch, when a coyote eats something, they start eating from the underbelly and eat from within. That sounds gross, but yeah, that's how it works. So that's what we do. Okay, so my story wraps around a lot about Dell Computer Corporation. I was in Austin, that's where I started the business, and Michael Dell came out, and he was just, saying, we're going to sell on the internet, we're going to do this. But first, we had to do print. So we did a ton of print for Dell. And then we were internet pioneers. Does anyone remember this? 1994, let's look at a little video. Oh, it didn't play the video there. Well, okay, we won't play the video. Oh yeah, here it is.
Hello, my name is Scott Reynolds. Welcome to Discovering the Internet. In this tutorial, we'll take a look at the differences between the Internet and the World Wide Web. The differences between commercial online services such as the Microsoft Network, Prodigy, or America Online, and the Internet. How to get connected to the web. How to use something called a web browser to navigate the web. What a web page is, and how to search, locate, and download all types of files.
Okay. So wasn't that hilarious? I mean, this is where we were. We were right in the crosshairs of this wild phenomenon, and most people in the advertising business said it was never going to go anywhere. This internet thing wasn't going to amount to anything. So here we were, and we were doing all these print catalogs for Dell. We did 14 million catalogs a month for Dell for small business with sometimes 30 versions. And it took 50 tractor trailer trucks to get them across the country to deliver. Wasn't that wild? And so here comes the internet. We did things for Dell like this Dell food play. They had the largest ROI. It wasn't a brochure. They asked, I won't go into this whole story, we don't have time. But afterwards, if anyone wants to hear about it, it was one of the coolest things we've ever done. And then we had to leave Dell one day. And it was really tough because we had built some of the very first online smart marketing programs, and we were with them for 16 years. But they brought in a CMO. This is what happens in the ad agency. You get the new CMO, and they decided they were going to put everything under one holding company, and they said, you're the only thing not broken, so you'll stay. I said, fine. So they come in and decide that we have to sell to the new holding company to stay in. And it went totally against my principles. I didn't want to sell, and we didn't want them to own us, and so I had no choice but to leave after 16 years. It was one of the toughest things I've ever had to say no to in my life. Half of my business, $70 million, walked out the door one day. They thought it would kill me, and I didn't think I could survive either, but we did, and it made us so much stronger. And us saying no was tough. And as I said, it was one of the toughest things I ever did, but what we did is we brought the entire staff at the time outside to this courtyard, and we told them the truth. And there wasn't a dry eye in the house, but they knew why we did it. And we knew that some of them would have to leave at some point, but we said we're going to go out professionally and we're going to treat our Dell clients right. So it was an amazing thing, but boy, you talk about, that was the week my hair turned completely white. And so I've been dyeing it ever since. But, and my mother always told me, you've got to dye your hair. She said, don't let it go gray. She said, don't you ever do that. So I have to be good to my mom. You know, one of the funny things is growing up in Texas and being in Texas and being a small woman in a big Texas man's world, basically, was that I grew up around a lot of these funny old characters. And one of them happened to be Herb Kelleher. I guess you heard about him. He started Southwest Airlines. And I don't know what it is about men, and thanks to you few men who came today, brave souls, but why do you always have to have a 7 7:15 or 7:30 breakfast meeting? I mean, why do all these meetings have to be at 7:30? I don't know, but they are. So one day, I walked into this meeting, and Herb Kelleher was sitting there. I walked in the door, and I was seated at 7:30 a.m. That was the time the meeting was starting. And he looked at me, he said, "Little lady, you're late." And I said, "I'm not late, I don't think. I mean, I thought the meeting started at 7:30. And he said, "If you're not 10 or 15 minutes early, you're late." I said, "Okay." So I learned that lesson. Also, I had a funny man in Austin, Texas, who would sit around every day and every now and then and meet with me. And he'd said, "If you don't have at least 20% of the people mad at you at any given time, you ain't doing business." And I said, "You're right, Dick. You're right." So, you got to change things up. You can't always have everybody loving you all the time. They won't. So we did this think tank model, like I said. It allowed us to do things that are different. But today, I mean, we're hiring like technology architects. Who was that? What in the hell was that a few years ago? I'm hiring people with these titles. I don't even know what it would have meant 3 years ago. They're user experience people. Really? Okay. And so we've grown and we've opened offices around the country. I've been in New York for 11 years. We've had an Atlanta office recently, one in San Francisco. It's a great attract talent because right now Austin, Texas is the hotbed of technology, and I compete with everybody for talent. I mean, it's Google, Facebook, Apple, everybody's in town. So it forces us to be able to have great clients. We have to have the great people to work on it. But I'm hoping with some of the people that come in our company that even if they leave us at some point, look who they have on their resume. Look at the cool accounts they get to work on. And that's my responsibility, is to make sure, as the leader of the organization, that we continue to open doors in these fabulous companies with great work that we're doing for all of them. So those are our clients right now. And we have around a little over 150 people. I think it's closer to 160. We do all of our development in-house, which means the coding and all that stuff is done in-house, and we don't outsource it anywhere because we feel like we can control it, and it's a big part of our success. And I've made over 650 consecutive payrolls without borrowing a dime. And you know what? At this point in my career, I go, whew, how did we do that? But it's part of the story. We're also, as you heard, we're the largest independent agency owned by a woman in the country, and I'm WeBank certified. There's some WeBank friends here in the audience today that came up and said hello. It's been a good thing. We don't get into businesses because we're a diverse supplier, but once we are there and we do a good job, I'm always supported by the supplier diversity folks. And then a little bit about us. You heard we've been honored by our family-friendly policies. I started a program about a little over 20 years ago called T3 and Under, and it's where I've let moms and dads bring their infants into the office with them until they're 9 months old, and we all take care of them. It's not a daycare. It's not a licensed daycare. We raise these children. I've had 92 kids, and now the two first kids that were in the program with their moms, who actually still work with me after all these years, are interns this summer. Isn't that great? That's so cool. And that's Douglas, our chief canine officer over there on the right. So once again, the world shifted under our feet after we got kind of good with the internet. And so it's kind of, the Internet of Things now. It's everything. It's a device. It's a Fitbit. It's, your mobile devices, all these things. And we're all connected in a way we never have. So we realized that brands had to be useful for the first time. Ad agencies like to push thinking out. If you do a funny television spot or if you do something engaging, then maybe everybody's going to love the brand and buy it. But we don't believe that anymore. And I'm going to try to blow through this pretty quick. Someone needs to be a timekeeper for me. But the reason I want to talk about useful brands is we think that's the future of brands, period. If you're not useful in a way that Bob here, who runs the chamber, says, hey, this is helping me to educate people, or I'm engaged with this, or this brand's doing something to help me. So I'm going to give you some examples. We did this study, and I won't go into it, but we found out by interviewing 5,500 people and investing in this in a year, no one funded this. We did it because we believe in innovation, and we believe that we've got to stay out ahead, or we're going to be left in the dust. So we did this report. We own that idea of useful brand. And here's one that's kind of about Burger King. I won't go into these charts, but you can see customization was where they scored really well. But you know how it's always been, you have it your way. So that, I guess that worked. But when it came to quality, they're dipping back. So they need to really think about the quality of their product. So I have information now about all these brands that I can go in and say, hey, look what we know about you. So all of a sudden, it's a great new business tool. So anyway, I won't go through this either, but look who's #1 most useful. Amazon. Not too surprising, right? But guess who's 2? Band-Aid. Band-Aid. We were blown away that Band-Aid is the 2nd most useful brand in this entire study. But we've all used Band-Aids, and you know, from the time you were a child with a boo-boo, you had a Band-Aid, so it's great. Okay, so we want all of our brands to be more useful. So we did a thing for UPS. Has anyone ever heard of UPS My Choice, where you can redirect a package? Does anyone use that? It's really a great thing, and we figured out they could do this. And they didn't really even know that they could do it, that we could build an app and redirect a package on the fly. Now, not only does it make you, the consumer, happier, because you're not having to get that little yellow sticky note that says, guess what, we tried to deliver your package, too bad you weren't here. You can get it where you are, and I can't even begin to tell you, but you can start doing some math in your head, how much it has saved UPS to not have to re-deliver a package. It is stunning. So because we can come up with things like that, we become useful to UPS, because those are the way we think about things. This is another thing. It was the first contextual app ever built. We did it for 7-Eleven, and it used all these things that we can know now, like what time of day it is, the temperature, where you are, the speed direction, what time of day, what day it is. And because of all those things that we know, if you have this app, we can offer things to you that are more contextually relevant. So if it's a very hot day, we might give you a discount on a diet or a cool drink or something. And it's all about kind of being relevant to the person and not just throwing ads out. This is another thing for Allstate. So cool, if you ever want to try it, you can go in and you can zone in on your home, and they'll give you all the statistics and everything that we built, pulling in data and information on what your insurance quote should look like, how many fires have been in the neighborhood, some of the things that we can draw in from public information, and the Allstate database. Everybody knows about the easy button, right? That was kind of a funny thing that Staples did. Well, we really are making the easy button easy. This is coming out. It will come out in limited quantities, but it's where you literally can talk into the easy button. It goes through to their database, and you can order stuff, and it comes to you. It's already done. It's built, done. So this is really not just pushing an easy button. This is useful, okay? You can really order your stuff from Staples, and they'll send it to you. Ah, fun. So do then say. All right, so as I told you, we ended up competing now against all these people, Deloitte, IBM, Accenture. The world's changed. And, but we also compete against some of the big digital agencies and that sort of thing. So we were named, here's little T3 in this Forrester Research Wave, is one of the top 5 most innovative agencies in the world. And it's tough to hold that spot. So continue to innovate. It's really in our lifeblood. But I'm excited about this because, you know, it's unbelievable that we would even make this list, but we did, and it's exciting. Okay, so here's a little bit more about me. So I'm the CEO of T3. I could have done this earlier on. I'm also was the chair of the Committee of 200, which if you don't know about C200, Committee of 200, we do a lot of work to advance women, support, network, and advance women all the way from high school through corporate. Some of our members are like Denise Morrison, who's CEO of Campbell Soup, and it's a really great group of women. So I was the chair of that because I believe in advancing women. And I put my money where my mouth is there. I'm also on the board of directors of Monotype, which is a publicly traded company, and I think more women need to push and be on boards. We've got to do more with that. And if any opportunity comes to you, I learned how to be a board member by doing smaller boards along the way, and nonprofits and some of these things. And I was appointed on a board by Governor Bush in Texas way back in the day. So I've learned how to be a board member, but I didn't start off there. And so I say, I really want to encourage all of you to get on board. I'm sure a lot of you are, and you serve, because women are great at that. And we need more women in the boardroom. You think about who is buying these services and products. A lot of it's women, and the boards are like one woman on a 12-person board. It doesn't make sense. So I'm pushing that. I advocate women on boards. As you know, I write for Forbes and Fortune. I write in the entrepreneur section in Forbes. I'm in the Fortune Most Powerful Women Network in Fortune, and I write there. But if you ever look, I haven't written just lately because I've been busy with something I'll tell you about in a minute. But I was really selected to write in the entrepreneur section on Forbes. So if you ever want to look at my articles, there's some pretty good Texas advice in there about rattlesnakes and stuff like that. It's really great. Actually, I had so many people read that rattlesnake story. It was wild. It's wild. And then I am a rancher. My husband and I have been ranchers all our lives, and we raise Texas Longhorns and border goats and border collies and draft horses and quarter horses. So I always say, and put yourself out there. Now, this is something I had to learn to do a long time ago. You probably know that I'm not shy, and I am a big extrovert, so putting myself out there wasn't necessarily a stretch, although there was a time when I had 3 children at home, and they were young, and I held the company back because I believed, and I don't know if I'd do it again today, but that was what I thought was the right thing to do. If I couldn't get back and forth on a Southwest Airlines flight in a day, then I didn't work on the account because I wanted to be home for my kids as much as I could when they were growing up. The day that my youngest son went off to college, in fact, we pushed him out of the door and said, go ahead and get your apartment this summer. I cried when the first 2 left, but when he came along, I just said, Sam, go. Well, and I got on the plane and I started going to every event I could. I networked, I went to events, I went to speaking, all this stuff, because I wanted to meet people that would really help us grow our business. And they did. And I've had so many people help me and support me. So I always say, get out there, get out from behind your desk. Go meet people, go talk to people who can reinforce you and shore up your weaknesses. I keep talking about this, but I'm not good at a whole lot of stuff. In fact, I'll tell you a dirty little secret. I told my husband last year that I could copy and paste on the computer, and he believed me, but it's not true. I still don't know how to do it. I have all these technology people who work for me. That's not what I'm good at, but I know how to find the best, and I know how to bring them along. So you don't have to be good at stuff. You just have to find other people who can do it better than you. So finally, this put yourself out there. Okay, so to kind of give you the last little dream story here, I got a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Studio Art at the University of Texas in Austin. The day that I walked out, yes, hook 'em horns. The day that I walked out, I went straight in the advertising business because I could draw. So back then, before computers, we drew everything, storyboards and comps and all this stuff, and I could write copy. So that's what my first jobs were in the ad business, and one thing led to another. But I put behind me the dream of ever really being a fine artist, and that's what I had trained to do. I didn't have time for it. One thing happened after the other. I was in business. I started a business. I had 3 children. I had so much activity and stuff going on that the thought of even having time to paint was out of the question. And so about 2 years ago, I decided, you know what? I'm going to start painting again just to see what happens. And I took my canvases and my paint and went out to our ranch and said, I'm going to paint what I see out here. And so I started painting again. Long story short, you won't believe this. I have a show in New York that opened April 6th. If you don't believe in dreams can come true, even, after all the stuff I've been through, it's amazing. And the woman who has embraced my art and did this is former chairman and CEO of Time Inc. and more. Ann has a gallery in Chelsea, and she and her curator saw my work, and they really loved it. And so the show's up through May 7th. We've sold 20 paintings. And I was so scared to show this, to show anybody my art. It comes from your heart. It comes from your soul. And what I do in the advertising business comes more from your head. It's like we think through things. We have clients with budgets, deadlines, expectations. You've got to meet the ROI. You've got to do all these things. With painting, it's just all me and the canvas, and no one else is telling me what to do. So I paint big, beautiful skyscapes, landscapes, very abstract, but it was totally a dream come true. So I told my staff this, I said, after all these years, I'm kind of going back to something that I truly love, and I always want you all to remember that don't give up on your dreams. It may take 35 years, but don't give up on those things that you're passionate about and that you love, because sometimes, there's a right time for everything. And I think if I had tried to be an artist when I was 21 years old, I probably would have failed. It wouldn't have been the right thing to do. And I had to make money because I didn't have a choice those days. My dad died when I was 13. I had been working from the time I was 13 years old. So there I am with Ann. There's Ann, who believed in me and the show that's up, and it's been very exciting. So what I want to tell all of you is go kick ass. Go kick. See, they censor me at the office. You know, I said the last slide is thanks, y'all. Go kick ass, and they so it's what it means. So it is my story, and I say just live by your principles. The thing that I have really known is that I can't be anybody but me. I try to be very authentic, but I don't even really try. I'm just me. And it pays off because people trust you when they know that you're going to say and do the same thing because they know who you are. And I always said I can't lie about things because I would forget what I said, and then couldn't make it work. So anyway, and I always say then say. Go out there and do something, and then you go talk about it once you've accomplished it. And let yourself feel the accomplishment, because all of you are accomplishing amazing things every day. I just feel this energy in this room. You all are great. And I got to meet so many of you before it. Just lovely people here. I'm very impressed with the Tampa area. It's great. So embrace change, because that's the only thing you can count on. And if you walked through my story and you saw all the things that happened to us because of the internet, because of the changing digital world, because of the change in our industry, if we hadn't embraced the change, we'd been left in the dust. I had a guy who was one of the best creative directors I've ever known back when we started working on the internet projects in the mid-90s. And I said, Rob, you know, you've got to kind of get your head around this. I want you to be a leader for us in this. And you're going to have to go from traditional creative into this. And he said, no. He said, Gay, this internet thing is like the CB radio of the 90s. You know, he said, it's not going anywhere. So he's a great guy, but he didn't make the cut. And then I say, embrace your people. You know, you have people who work with you all the time. I've learned something. I'm not really good at this, and I've had to think about it. Thank people. Say, thank you, thank you, thank you. Every day I have to thank people who have made me successful, who have given me courage, who have done all these things, who can talk to me like a Dutch uncle. That's how my husband says, I'm going to talk to you like a Dutch uncle. But those people that do those things for you, thank them. You'd be surprised how sometimes they don't get thanked enough. And so I say thank you a lot. Embrace your people. Do good things for them. And embrace your own strengths and weaknesses. Be brutally honest about what you're good at and what you're not, and find people who shore you up. And then last, love your life and love the people around you. You know, there's a lot of people who love you, and tell them that. My mother died a few years ago, and she said, Gabe, if you really love somebody or you really care about them, it's not just thanking them. You need to tell them right now. You go tell them. You go home and you tell them. Call somebody. Write a note. Do something. They'll be surprised, you know, sometimes. But I love a lot of people, and I try to say, well, I need to, even if it's just a text message to someone, you know, tell people you love them, because they need to hear that from you, and we all need that. And I love all of you for being here today, for supporting this. Thank you so much. And I guess we can go into Q&A, right? Is it time? Good. Okay, thank you. All right.
Have a seat.
And I want you to know that I didn't really spend a lot of time preparing for the answers for this, but they told me some of the questions they were going to ask. So this will be right off the cuff. So what is
That's okay, because I'm not going to use those questions anyway.
Oh,
so.
good. Okay.
So we're good. We're absolutely good. We may refer to some of them, but based on the things that you've just said, I have a couple of questions. And one of them then is, clearly you have invested in yourself along the way. Can you talk about that concept a little bit? I mean, you had the guts to make some decisions that were difficult decisions, but you've invested in yourself along the way.
I did, and one of my good friends, now this is on a totally different topic, but one of my good friends says, you know what, this getting old thing is getting expensive. You know, I won't go into why, but it is. So, no, I really have. I think that I tried to learn along the way. You know, I had this art degree. I went back to school at night. I worked really hard to try to learn the language of business. I invested in opportunities, and the company did. Well, I could do it. It was my company to get me out there, to go to conferences, to go to some programs at Harvard and do things to really try to help me be a better business person. because I'm a creative soul, but I'm also a business person, and I wanted to make sure that I was doing that. Plus, I think with the clients that we've had, and you see some of the big names up there, I listen to them. You know, I go out and talk to our clients, and that is investing in me too, because they've been really great people for me to build a business around, and I've had some great mentors there.
Mentorship, I'm going to use that. Talk about both C200, which I know is engaged to some degree, and mentorship is a part of the program. It's much more than that. Right. But sort of how you feel, we talk about mentorship a lot, but how have you really seen it work, and how do you really think that we can engage in it as individuals and as companies?
I find that sometimes the people who mentor you are the least likely that you would expect. I know that there's a lot of individuals who've found people and they really match them up and they do that, and that can be really strong. But I think mentors and mentees kind of find each other, and it's a mutually beneficial relationship.
So that's somewhat, as you said, about that putting yourself out there, because then you're going to find one end or the other. Are you ever too old to stop being mentored? I mean, you're mentoring others sometimes as we grow older in our career, but don't you still need to continue to be mentored as well?
Oh, absolutely. And the woman who's curated my art show has been a tremendous mentor to me. Here I am in an area that I don't know. I mean, I don't know about the business of being an artist. And so if I'm going to continue to do that, you know, I need guidance, I need feedback. And she really pushed me and was just a fabulous help to me, because it's an area I wasn't sure about. You know, I know the ad business pretty well, although it changes every day, but I didn't know this. And she would say, you know, go more in this direction. I like what you're doing. Or, you know, I really think you need to do something with the same landscape on this, painted at different times of the year. She just gave me good tips and advice. So you always
attention.
knew. Yeah.
Talk about C200 and that organization and what it's done and why you chose to be so engaged.
Okay. Well, I've been a member since 2006, and it was a great group of women I found. I almost didn't know about them. They're kind of under the radar sometimes. But the great thing about C200 is it's been women who really came in at a time where opportunities, a lot of us, now there's younger ones coming along, but my generation of women really thought, wow, we have this first chance to blow the doors open. And we took it on with gusto. So the support we give to each other is good, but it's so much more beyond that. We scholarship young women. We're supporting STEM, we're supporting business. We take our own time and go out and speak to young women, high school all the way through MBAs. We have a scholar network now that we're getting them to support each other. And I still get frustrated a lot about women's progress. And I think we've made some amazing strides, but we're not winning all the time. And so I think it takes a lot of efforts like this. And there's other great organizations, but C200 has been really, really strong. And I decided to be a part of it because of the money we were raising and what we could do. And I thought it might have the biggest impact on lasting careers for some women.
Talking about that, we're not winning all the time. I had a conversation recently with someone who was saying they were trying to bring women up through the company, but women just didn't want to go there, or they would make the choice to opt out. And the only thing that I could think of to say in response, except, are you kidding me, was, did you give them new options? Are you exploring different ways for them to continue to do their job and be in your company, which clearly you have done in a huge way in terms of your program with young kids and the other things that you've done. But what do you say back in those situations? How can we voice that in those conversations to not just say nothing?
Well, and the thing that really worries me and what we have to stop talking about are things like that. I think people talk about women, oh yeah, women are opting out, they're not doing it. I know a ton of women who aren't opting out, but I do know some that do. There's some guys who opt out. It's why are women always the ones categorized? Well, we do have the babies, you know, and so that's going to be right there an issue. But there's so many great ways to work with people now. I mean, my young kids, well, they're not that young, my kids don't really want to work in that same old 8 to 5 deal. I mean, they want flexibility. They want to be able to do different things. And so I think it's kind of a generational thing as much as women. And we need to be smarter, I think, about how we deal with these younger people who are in the workforce now. And so I think we have to get out of this rhetoric. How many times would a man say, "Oh, why would you leave your children at home?" Or "Don't you feel guilty about that?" They don't talk to men that way. Women are approached that way, and we've got to get this language fixed. I mean, so it's all these urban myths and language that surrounds kind of the way women are treated in the workplace from the time they're little girls. It's like, don't get your dress dirty, or you better do this, and we treat women, little girls, differently too. And so we kind of, I don't say that there's no difference in the sexes, of course there is, but I really think that women's language, we need to, all of us, go out today and think about the language you're using when you're describing these things, and start to talk more about the women who are doing it, and get those stories out there. And there's so many trailblazers, I know they're in this room, that you're breaking those odds, and don't let people talk about you that way.
Along those lines, and talk about that environment within your office, which is different, clearly. And the notion of having kids at work, is that disruptive? How do you deal with that? How does that balance happen?
Well, it's a little tiny bit, but not really. And we've learned through the years. I mean, I've done this for 20 years. So we have a special place at the office where the parents can be, and they're kind of quartered off, but the babies are all over the building. I mean, they're everywhere. It's been so much a part of our culture for so long that no one complains. At the very beginning, I had some people complain about crying babies and stuff, but they got over it, and that's when the dogs came too, because I had this one woman who said, "Well, you can let the babies come up here, but my dog is my baby." I said, "Okay, we'll bring the baby dog and we'll have the dog." And so we did that. And then one woman brought a goat one day. And, I'm telling you. And then we had an outbreak of fleas.
They eat paper, though, don't they?
No, we had an outbreak of fleas, and everybody just went nuts. And so I just said, "Okay, I've got to draw the line. No more goats." All right? Okay.
That line's pretty far out there, though. No more goats. That line's pretty far out there. And talking about balance within the office and trying these new methods. And well, this first. So what about balance in life? I mean, clearly you have done a tremendous amount with your career, and now you've brought the art into your life in a real way, that you're actually spending time on that. Is there a tip or two on balance that you have found works over the years?
I don't. It's another term that I don't think is realistic. There is no balance. It's just not the way life works. So sometimes you're just all out of gas, and you just kind of have to lay by the pool, or just kind of say, "I'm worthless today." And you know that sometimes that is so hard for me to do, because I think I've got to be doing stuff, all the time. And what'd you do today? Or did you make a big decision? Or did you make another $1 million? Or what did you do? And then sometimes I'm sitting there saying, "I'm not doing anything today. I'm just sitting here, and I'm kind of worthless." And it's okay. It's okay to do that. And I think my art has also been a way that I have found, it's frustrating sometimes, because paintings are like solving problems, but it's also like an escape for me too. And so I've always tried to do things where, I would work in my garden, or I would, and I don't even take my cell phone in there. I won't let anyone talk to me when I'm there. And when I'm painting, it's all gone. So you've got to unplug, you got to get away, and do a few things that you really want to do for you. And don't feel guilty about it. For so many years when I had the kids that were so young, I didn't do anything for me. I was just running around and just trying to get through the day. But you have to do some things, because it ends up recharging you, and you end up being better at what you do when you take off and just let it go, and maybe just read a dumb book or something that's,
You read a dumb
doesn't
book
have
or
to
something.
be the business book.
It's actually so good to hear you say that there is no such thing as balance. I mean, it's really good to hear you say that. I always say that maybe by the end of my life, my whole life will have been in some sort of balance, but at any given time, there really isn't any. I was really taken by the box that you still have on your desk, and obviously, hugely meaning in that notion of risk. Obviously something you need to be reminded of then, even after a long career of taking risks, and some of them good, some of them bad. Talk about, as our final question here, talk about that risk in your life just a little bit.
Fortunately, I think some people don't really have an appetite for it. And I think it's part personality, but I also think that no matter who you are, what you're like, that you can feel it. And it's what I said on the podium here a few minutes ago. you watch, and sometimes my mom always called it the brass ring, comes around only so many times. You watch for these opportunities, and they will present themselves. They may sound crazy, they may sound like I can't do that, or this is just not the right time, or I don't have the energy or the money or the resources to do this. Go for it. You've got to grab when it comes by, because it may never come by like that again. When we were growing the Dell business, they would come in and say, can you do this? We say, no, but we'll figure it out, and we'd ramp it up and do it. So I've always thought, you'll see it in your life. There's that one time where something presented itself. And I don't have very many regrets about not grabbing the ring when it came around. And I did have some failures. I mean, everything doesn't work. Sometimes we've had a few accounts that we lost because not anything we did wrong, but because a new CMO came to town or whatever was going on, and you lose that business, and that's the toughest thing you ever have to do is lay people off. Oh man, it just breaks your heart, and you've got really great people there. But it's the only way to survive, and so those risks that you take, that doesn't mean though that I shouldn't go out and try to get that next big piece of business or compete for it, thinking, well, if I lose it someday, then I have to fire all these people. You can't think that way. You have to think about, here's the positive side of it. We're going to keep forward motion. We're going to keep moving, and and good things will eventually come, right?
And you decided to stay independent at that moment with Dell. You said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay, and I'm going to hold on to the spirit that is my company. Great moment in time. I mean, it had to be amazingly difficult, as you said, but a great moment in time for you?
Yeah, it was probably one of the biggest turning points in my career, because it made me put everything I believed on the line. And I told you, it was $70 million that we walked out from that day, and it was just gut-wrenching. It's horrible. It's one of the most horrible things that's ever happened in my life.
But you loved your company ever since, even more.
Yeah. And the people who worked for me got it. I mean, they knew why we weren't going to do it. And so, you never say you're never going to sell a business or any of those things, but, that time and place was totally wrong, and I knew it. And so I didn't really tell you what I told the guy when he threw the last offer on the table, but I bet you can figure it out. It rhymes with duck you.
And on that note, I think thank you so much for what you've shared with us.
Okay,
today.
thank you.
Hugely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To have someone stand up and say, because I always fight the big corporate and the independent, to have someone can say, I believe in me and my company, and we're going to keep doing this. You've huge. You've done something for me today.
Thank you. Oh, good. I hope so.
Thank you all very much. This was, I think, spectacular. Thank you for coming so much. Thank you for coming to Tampa.
No, I love
Have a
it.
great afternoon, everyone.
I don't know why I brought these notes up here. I don't ever use notes when I'm speaking.
Gay, we would like to thank you for sharing your thoughts with us, and to Mary Ann for moderating. And Gay, as a token of our appreciation, please accept this gift of some local Tampa items.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. I'm sure I'll enjoy it. Thanks so much.
To all of you out there, thank you again for attending this wonderful event. If you're an active member of the Chamber, we sincerely appreciate that. And if you're still looking to get connected to the Chamber, now is a great time. Please visit the Chamber's website at tampachamber.com and find a program or a committee that interests you. It's a great way to get involved. Don't forget to stop by the Startup Scholars outside, and they're going to be open until 2 p.m. Thank you again, and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you for attending the Greater Chamber of Commerce 10th Annual Women's of Influence Luncheon presented by PNC Bank. Please drive safely and enjoy the rest of your day.